What's going on, guys? Anthony here. So I've been scrolling on LinkedIn pretty actively over the last, I'd say, 2-3 days here, and I came across a very interesting article written by, I can't pronounce his last name, so his name is David. Let's just go there. I don't want to butcher his last name and be disrespectful here, but David wrote a phenomenal article titled "My Top 10 Mistakes as a Startup HR Leader." Now, obviously, this resonated with me very much so because I am currently the director of employee experience for a small business here. We're doing about 1.5 million in sales. I have been the director of employee experience for another brand that was around 800K, and then in my former careers, I started a brand that reached about 7 figures, and I started a second brand that reached 6 figures. So I'm very familiar with the startup space, very familiar with the small business model, and very familiar with trying to cultivate and create a people experience that is tailored and designed around the first, let's call it 3-4 years of an organization. Now, a lot of these mistakes here I resonate with a lot, and I just wanted to kind of share my 2 cents, my points of views, my perspectives, and hopefully help some of the other HR leaders out here, some of the other people leaders out here, some of the other CEOs out here that are part of small organizations or startup organizations. So the first one that caught my attention was pushing talent ideas in isolation. This is something I will admit there's a lot of that happening right now within my organization that I'm personally trying to stop doing. There's a consistent sentiment that is going throughout the organization, which is the team knows best, and I personally need to continue to remind myself that the team does know best. Despite the context I may have, or despite the CEO's context, or despite our COO's context, or despite anyone else's context, an overall team effort is needed, and overall team context and points of views is definitely needed as well. And so what I've realized, and what I agree with this mistake here, is pushing talent ideas, pushing strategy ideas into isolation. For me, is a big no-no and something I'm trying to work on. And I've realized that when you do that, you limit the amount of innovation that you can add to an idea. You limit the potential of an idea. You limit the ceiling of an idea, right? Because you have very few ideas and perspectives tied to that idea or that overall strategy. So for me, that was a big thing that caught my attention as I was reading this article, and something that I would very much suggest that no senior leader, no CEO, no people leader ever get into the habit of doing. The ideas that you guys have sitting as the executives, definitely start with those ideas being cultivated from you guys personally, but don't be afraid, right? Don't hesitate as it pertains to trying to find different ways to get the team involved. Figure out who can add to those ideas, who may have a different point of view, who may have a different perspective and context, because you may learn something not only about that idea and how to make it better, you may learn about your employee. Another thing as I was looking here is, this is actually interesting. I didn't even realize this one. Placing way too much faith in talented consultants and thought leaders that are connected to the brand. I think this is an interesting one. And again, not necessarily with the brand that I'm with right now, but at a macro level, I've experienced this issue as well. Too much information, too many insights, too many ideas, too many thoughts, too many voices in one's head can definitely be problematic. And I think in the beginning stages of a brand, people leaders have so many different points of views. They're reaching out to senior HR leaders from other organizations, people that maybe they went to university with, and they're trying to get as much context as possible when trying to navigate their personal career, as well as navigate problems that come up in the day-to-day workings within the startup and within the small business. So I would have to agree with this as well, is that putting too much faith, too much stock into anyone's perspective that is from the outside, that does not have the context that you have as the people leader working in the day-to-day, is very much potentially problematic and something to think about. I definitely believe in having mentors and supporters and people that you trust in and that can give you perspective. But if you are going to listen to the perspectives, make sure that they have as much context as you personally can provide, and make sure that context is not one-sided. Make sure that you're giving them the full color of what's happening within the brand. Let me try to find one more for you guys that I think is going to be helpful and what I think is going to help just help everyone change and be better as they're trying to navigate people and experience within smaller brands. Let me see here. Let's go with this. This is the biggest mistake that you can make, not building a relationship with the CEO, with the top head honcho, with the top he or she of the brand. That would definitely be a big problem. There's a lot of things that are happening in the people and employee experience space that are new, right? 10 years old, 5 years old, 3 years old, that are innovative. The fact that we are trying to make each an individual employee's life as productive as possible is something to think about. Trying to make sure that their time here with the brand is pleasant is something to think about. And remember that does not necessarily correlate to a bottom line. And oftentimes CEOs have a very bottom line perspective. So when I see this flaw, which is not building the relationship with the CEO because you may realize that he or she continues to push against your innovation or push against your ideas, and that's the reason why you're not trying to build a relationship, that's a problem. And I would ask, number one, that you have a little bit more maturity. Number two, you have to realize that you have a skill, which is understanding where other people are coming from, and take that empathy skill that you have, and you have to embed that into the CEO. That can be stepping into a budgeting meeting. That can be stepping into a partnership strategy meeting. That can be stepping into an overall organizational structure of where the company is going to be going in the next 10 years meeting. That can be sitting down at a one-on-one level over a few drinks and just thoughtfully understanding where that CEO came from, whether it's he or she's parents, he or she's personal interest, he or she's fears, wishes, wants, desires, issues, perspectives, nuances, gray. It's not always black and white. And, gaining that context and gaining that personal relationship is going to be a big variable in your overall success or lack thereof as it pertains to being a people leader in a small brand. So, these are just a few thoughts that I had as I was reading this article. I do appreciate this amazing article. I was super inspired to make some content here. And all of these mistakes I personally have made in my career, I'm personally trying to not make as many of them moving forward, and I'm trying to be a better leader. So hopefully I was able to inspire, teach, motivate, drive change, drive different narratives and perspectives and ways of looking at things. And as always, hopefully I was able to help. So please reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me an email. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are, and let's continue to just try to help each other out. Have a beautiful day.